Today, on Be Something Wonderful, master the paradox of receiving everything by holding on to nothing. I am your host, Tom Kieran, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. Had a powerful session yesterday with a client that I talked to only once back in July. And he had booked a session saying that he watched a video about reality transurfing and this idea of importance. When you place excess importance on something, that comes from the fear, either that you're not going to get it or the fear that you can't hold on to it. Right? It all comes from that idea of fear, and then of course you manifest your worst fears. Well, this is what he was going through. And he had his girlfriend of, I guess, 7 months, they had broken up. And it was really her decision, not really his. And what he was saying at that time is, Tom, I've lost her. I love her. I know she loves me. He was really attached to her. I know what I did wrong. Now she's with someone else, right? And I had talked about this idea that that's all excess importance. That it's not about her, it's about his fear of him needing her as a condition to feel good, as a condition to feel connected to his source. We talked about this idea, and that it's not love he was feeling, rather it was lack and fear. He wasn't loving her. He was fearing her, or fearing that he would lose her, and he did. She loves love, not lack and fear. So yes, she loves him, but she loves love, not lack and fear. Right? And then he says, she's important to me. This was a big statement. He reiterated what he had said. He goes, I just have so much clarity now on this. Right? This importance implies, this is when you say it's not important, it implies I'm not good enough. I'm not deserving enough. I'm not worthy enough to share love with her. Right? Or it's the other way. You're placing importance on I am important and she should love me. Right? Why doesn't she love me? I'm important. I'm worth it. Right? Either way, you're creating this inner importance. Right? And it's inner importance, but it's importance based on outer conditions and outer people's opinions of them. Everything is based on outer conditions determining how you feel and who you are, right? And then he says now she's with someone else that that she loves more than me. This was back then, right? It's impossible to get her back. And then he was looking at 3D conditions saying, now it's impossible. Now he was adding on what we call outer importance. Looking at 3D reality, looking at the conditions and say they're impossible to overcome. It's against all odds. It's all importance based on something outside of you. Do you see it? You're not within the kingdom. You remember, you are the creator. You are divinity, right? You're not connected to your source, right? This creates attachment to your desire. So we had talked about all that. And it's in that video, but I'm going to cover these points today in a different way. And so what he said was, and what we had discovered was back then too, he was in a job that he said that wasn't his heart's desires. He was working in financial services. He studied business when he went to school, but it was never really what he wanted to do. He just thought it was the right thing to do so he could make money. But he really likes video editing. He likes the entertainment industry. He likes film. That's what he really wanted to do, right? So a lot of that unworthiness, a lot of that feeling that he's not enough was him not pursuing, hear this, his heart desires, not being true to who he really is, right? And that was being expressed through that love of what he wanted to do. So we got to that. And so today he says, him and that girl that he was so attached to, are now like best friends, right? They're not together. He's dating somebody else. She's not with that person anymore. And she did want to get back with him, but he was in a different space then, right? And so they just ended up friends. So really, let's hit this idea of importance today, guys, like we never have before, because it really rang his bell. All that fear and insecurity comes from placing excess importance on 3D conditions in yourself, right? It depletes your energy of attention and pulls your focus off of your desired end. We talked about the idea of intention, focusing on your desired end, focusing on what you really want to do. When you get caught up in looking outside yourself at conditions, you get pulled off of what you really want to do. This happens with him as well, right? He really wanted to video editing and film and the arts and that type of thing, not financial services. But he was looking at everything else but that, right? Your attention is split between the impossible 3D conditions and then trying to reconcile and get rid of the feeling of guilt and unworthiness, right? That's what he was feeling. He was feeling guilty that the relationship ended. He was feeling guilty and unworthy that he's not following his heart's desire. All that was there. I don't deserve her. I'm not good enough. I hurt her. That's what he was feeling, right? You are no longer trusting your inner authority and your natural divine power and right to choose and have and be all that you desire. It takes you completely off your natural ability, that higher power working through you, right? As you're no longer focused on your wish fulfilled or what you want or your desired end. You're focused on the details of conditions in 3D. So, and all because of importance, right? Placing high importance on anything gives your power away to the thing you believe is important. Do you hear this? You give your power away to the event, the person, the condition, or anything in 3D that you believe is important. It disconnects you from your own innate power as source or from your higher self. And you're influenced and controlled and moved by pendulums of thought forms that are not your own. You have the power to choose. Remember, or the script, right? A script you didn't choose, right? Vadim Zeland talks about that greater subconscious as a pendulums, right? And so you start you're influenced by all the thoughts that are out there when you're not directing it, when you're not consciously focusing on your wish fulfilled, when you're getting caught up in conditions. And that's what happened with him, right? He was trying to force the script to go according to the way he wanted it. He was fighting against the thought forms of the pendulums, right? Versus transcending it, versus focusing on what he really wanted and then being moved by that higher power or his natural ability within, right? And here's what John 19:11 says. You would have remember I've talked about this. I use this all the time, but it's so powerful. Right? It's Jesus in front of Pontius Pilate. The night before his crucifixion. You would have no authority over me unless it had been given to you from above. For this reason, he who delivered me to you has greater sin. Wow. That's the I am. That's your I am. That says there's no authority over me unless it was given from above. None of those pendulums, the script, the conditions don't have authority over you. But you're giving them importance. You're giving them authority to either crucify you or set you free. Remember, Pontius Pilate said, don't you know, you don't answer me? Don't you know I have the power to crucify you or set you free? Well, those conditions, we're talking about importance here. Importance has the power to crucify you or set you free. You can either release importance and you'll be free, or keep holding on to importance and crucify yourself, right? And then Jesus says this here. So he talks about the ones that had given from up. For this reason, he who has delivered me to you has greater sin. Who delivered him? Importance, in this case. It's importance that can crucify you or set you free. Wow. Because when you let go of importance, you are free. Right? Let's hit it a little bit more. So, dropping importance doesn't mean what you want and desire is not important. I really want to hit this because some of you really struggle with this idea of importance. It's not saying that. It's not saying that it's not important. What does it really mean? It means you are choosing to have it and be it from a state of love versus lack. That's the difference. We're not saying it's not important, but importance means you're holding on to it from lack, from fear. When you drop importance, it's important to you, but now you're coming from love, you're coming from certainty, you're coming from conviction, you're coming from a knowing within that you are part of that God, that part of that one with God, and that you can announce, you can claim, you can assume what you want to be. That's what we're talking about. High importance means you feel separated from what you want, and that you have to force, coerce, and manipulate 3D conditions to get it, to be it, and to keep it. This is what he was going through, right? He was feeling totally disconnected from his source and felt like he had to make things happen, right? Dropping importance is the recognition that everything you want to be, do, or have is already within you. That all those infinite possibilities exist as potential, and you are one with that potential. And that potential is within you. And you just got to invoke it and call forth what you want, as we talked about in yesterday's video, by assuming it. That's the power of assumptions, right? Always ask yourself, whatever is coming up, what am I assuming? Because those assumptions determine your entire life experience, right? It's that importance that throws you off your game, that throws you, that tears your focus from your desired end and from your wish fulfilled. So, importance keeps you trapped in the insecurity labyrinth as you fight to find your way out. This is what Vadim Zeland talks about in reality transurfing. He calls it the insecurity labyrinth. Here you are, trying to find your way out of this maze. But you'll never find the exit as you fight. As you say, I love her, I need her, I have to get her back, she's important to me. You are just going to be in that maze. Why? Because that maze is built, what are the walls of that maze built with? That labyrinth built with? Importance. It's the labyrinth, it's the walls of importance. And this is what Vadim Zeland says, there is no exit, there's no exist. There's no exit. There's no exit. There's no way out. No exit out of that. So what do? How do you get out? If there's no exit, and you have the, and you're just, and you keep placing importance on all this, you're trapped by the walls of importance, and you're led by the strings of importance, right? He also uses this example, and also uses the example like a puppet, like you're being led by the strings of importance, right? The pendulum now has a hold of you. That greater subconscious is now moving you. And that script, which you didn't choose, is leading you like a puppet to a direction that is not your heart's desire, right? The same thing. So what's the key then? What does Vadim suggest? Give up looking for an exit, and the walls of importance crumble under their own weight. When you give up looking for an exit, when you give up the struggle, the fighting, the trying the struggle for confidence, the struggle to release guilt, the struggle to fix yourself, the struggle for worthiness. When you give up all of that, the walls of importance crumble under their own weight. The strings fall, the strings of importance, and you let go of the strings of importance, and you walk freely by choosing and assuming that you desire, right? And what he calls how do you balance yourself when you let go of the strings? Coordination. The whole idea of not holding on to anything. And the way you coordinate by is assuming your wish fulfilled, assuming moving in the direction of your desires, right? Seeing everything as part of your path, not resisting anything, not complaining about anything, seeing every event as on your path. That's what he talks about coordination. It goes deeper than that, and there are videos on coordination, but I'll hit that in a separate video again. But this is the idea. These are the two great examples he uses. As you release importance, the walls crumble. As you release importance, the strings drop. You're now walking on your own, right? So remember, those strings give you false confidence. That you're getting, that you can move. But you can't move freely. You don't have free choice here. It looks like you do. But as soon as those strings get pulled tight, you don't have it, right? So the key to dropping importance, and another thing is, he said back then, he goes, man, my emotions were all over the place. Yes, and the key, why? Emotions are driven by that importance, right? Emotions are all over the place, but the key to drop importance while your emotions are all over the place is to choose, again, your relationship to yourself in the world. Release judgment. Remember, all events are neutral until you judge them. It was the judgment of events. It was your relationship that you established to yourself and reality that drives everything. It's the assumptions you make, your self-concepts about yourself and your relationship to the world that drives all emotions, that drives all other thoughts and assumptions underneath that, right? You are source. All that is has a love for all life. That's the true compassion. That's love. That's love without judgment and conditions, not with judgment. That's what true compassion means. It's love without judgment and conditions, right? It's being compassionate from that state that we're all love, that we're all connected to that one source. Excessive emotions, this is what Vadim Zeland says, excessive emotions and worries and anxiety and fear are the direct consequence of projected importance. It is the cause that has to be dealt with, and the cause is your relationship to whatever the event or object happens to be. The cause is your concept of yourself and your relationship to those events and the world. Remember that all comes out of you. So let's hit this a little bit more. The secret to the labyrinth, the insecurity labyrinth, is that its walls will crumble when you give up looking for the exit and abandon importance. So big, right? Insecurity and all forms of fear, such as unworthiness, lack of confidence, guilt, feeling undeserving, become bigger and more and bigger the more you struggle and try to overcome them, right? The more you try to look for the exit, the more you feel trapped in the labyrinth. The walls of importance get bigger and stronger. The more you try to feel worthy, the more unworthy you feel. The more that you try to feel confident, the more unconfident you feel. The more you try to get rid of guilt, the more guilty you feel. The more you try to feel deserving, the more undeserving you feel. This really comes from also Alan Watts and Mark Manson, the backwards law. Alan Watts talks about that. Mark Manson points to it in The Art of Not Giving an F. All of that, right? You can't get rid of any of that by trying and efforting and by struggle. All of these, security or insecurity, worthiness or unworthiness, depend on external people, events, and circumstances. All of that trying to be worthy, it's got to come from one place. Security comes from within you. Worthiness comes from within you. That God within you. And anytime it's attached to anything on the outside, that's importance. You're giving excess importance, right? You create dependent relationships, and you're being moved by an unwanted script and pendulums of thought away from your wish fulfilled in your heart's desire. That's so big, right? So, what do you do, right? That's always a question. When you let go of trying to prove, justify, improve, fix, and overcome yourself, and just take a stand in your divinity, that you are take a stand in the divinity that you are, and from where you come, accepting the fundamental truth as a son of God, the world will reflect that back to you. Do you hear that? It's your struggle to prove those things, to improve, that makes you need improving. It creates the reality that you're broken. It creates the reality that you need to justify yourself. It creates the reality that you need to fix yourself or overcome yourself. It creates a reality where you are undeserving, even though we know you're not, but that becomes your reality when you try to be deserving. It creates a reality where you feel insecure or you have low self-esteem, because you're trying to increase it. You're looking to the outside world as the measurement, right? So what does A Course in Miracles say? Hold on to nothing, right? Here's the paradox. You receive everything when you let go of wanting, needing, struggling, and trying to get it. That's what the message of importance is. let go of that importance, let go of the trying, and stand in the fundamental truth that you are perfect as a son of God, and there's nothing to improve. Your only choice ever is to choose what part of that you as a fully evolved being, what part of your evolution do you want to experience now? What part of creation, because creation's finished and all of it exists within you as potential, what part of that potential do you choose now? Right? You don't need importance when you are one with God. Right? Remember, God doesn't look at anything as more important or less important. God judges nothing as bad or good or better or worse. Right? None of that exists. God sees everything as love, all creations as equal, all as worthy of all of his love. Not just some of God's love, all of it. That's what you are. You're all God. You're all that power. You're all that love. You're all that knowing. You're all that presence. Do you feel that, right? The walls of insecurity, the labyrinth, with importance grow taller as you fight, as you insist, as you demand, as you complain, as you criticize, right? Or even when you give in to resignation, only to keep wallowing in this despair. Like you give up, you give in, okay, I give up, but you're still wallowing in this despair because you didn't get what you want, right? There's a difference when you surrender the importance, right? Doesn't mean that it's not important to you. It means you don't need it. Because you are one with God. You are one with that all-knowing, all-powerful substance in divine mind, right? That's big. So let go of the strings of importance. There you are. Otherwise, you're never free. You never have that free will to move toward your heart desires. In a way, my client was being led by those strings of importance. Right? Not pursuing his heart's desire, believing these other things were very important, and that he got pulled off of what he really wants, right? And give up looking for an exit from the insecurity labyrinth, right? Trying to be secure by looking to the outside. I have to be with her, or I won't feel worthy. I won't feel good. I won't feel fulfilled, right? The walls of importance only grow taller as you struggle. Right? Instead, invoke your awareness, your I am, and trust your inner authority. Accept the fundamental truth as an individualized aspect of God, that all power is within you, and as a creator of your life experience in the now moment. That's the most powerful assumption at all. That's where all assumptions come from. Right? Whatever you want comes from that one assumption, that I am awareness, and invoking your awareness, your inner authority, accepting the fundamental truth of who you are, that there's nothing to prove, right? You don't have to justify yourself. As Vadim Zeland says, you just quietly get up and walk out of the courtroom, right? And stop convicting yourself, stop judging yourself, stop prosecuting yourself. Right? No one has power to crucify you or set you free. Only you do. Right? Wow. Master the paradox of receiving everything by holding on to nothing. I am your host, Tom Karen, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, like and share our videos. That's how we get our message out. Follow us on Facebook at Be Something Wonderful. We have a group called the Be Something Wonderful Ambassadors. You can follow us. You can join that group. It's an open group, but it's closed off to the public. So you can join it, and then that means your insight and guidance that you ask for or share is only shared among the members. It's a cool group. You can find it at facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Karen, or just go to our website anytime. That has all that information and more at tomkaren.com or besomethingwonderful.com. Creators, with great love, with great light, and infinite gratitude, this is Tom. See you soon.